They turn the noise, yeah, the mess we make. Machine Pun Kelly get caught in the fake. Facts and logic with a twist of chest. Strip it down to truth, yeah, forget the rest. Humor pulls the lies right out of the park. Look beyond the shadows that set the dark. Sparks of laughter fire up the night, bringing clarity where they blur the fight. Cut through the chaos, yeah, the tangled lies. Machine Pun Kelly with the center clear eyes. Truths and jokes gonna rock this show. Step into light where the real facts glow.
And welcome to the Pun Show. I wasn't even going to do a show today, watching the news, and I just started getting so annoyed. And so I thought I'd just pop on for a bit and rant for a little bit about all the stupid. I am really, really just exhausted with the stupidity that is MAGA. And it stems from this Mark Kelly shenanigan thing. Like, there's so many layers of stupidity involved in this. Like, first of all, this guy is a decorated war hero. He's flown nearly 5,000 hours in combat. He's spent more time in space than any human being alive. And he said, don't follow unlawful orders. And they're acting like this is some grave offense. Like, what order, if, they're all, oh, well, what orders are unlawful? Well, what orders are you not worried about? What orders are you so worried about him not following? Like, we're talking about a president who has allegedly, from a different general, by the way, not just some random reporter, said that Donald Trump tried to order the military to fire on civilian troops protesting. Just shoot their legs, right? Now, Trump denied it, but, Trump denied sleeping with Stormy Daniels, too. Donald Trump lies. If it comes to Donald Trump's word and literally any other human being on the planet, I am going to take the other human beings. If it came to his word, or I don't even know who I would, maybe Putin's. Maybe I'd take his word over Putin's, but I would just believe they were both lying. If Donald Trump said the sky is blue, I would run outside to see what the hell happened to the sky. He's a liar. And he's a despot. And he's a narcissist. And he's very, very offended that somebody would say he's not the Almighty. Of course there's illegal orders. He's literally telling people to kill civilians. When I was in the Air Force, we went through basic training, and in basic training, they had several days devoted to, well, not like the whole days, but we'd have classes devoted to this very topic of not following unlawful orders. And the number one example they gave us of this was, you can't kill civilians. Like, that was the example. And they would use My Lai, and they would, no, you can't shoot civilians. That's illegal. If anybody tells you to shoot illegals, you can't, or to shoot civilians, that's an illegal order. 100%. That is the quintessential thing. And he is ordering people to kill civilians. So that is an illegal order. I don't care about, all your narco-terrorism stuff that you made up. It's still illegal. You don't just get to say, oh, you're a narco-terrorist and then make it illegal to kill somebody. That's not how things work. And it might work that way in your Supreme Court that you've managed to confiscate. But it doesn't make it that way for the rest of the world. The rest of the world doesn't see drug cartels and go, ooh, narco-terrorists. No, they see Donald Trump calling them narco-terrorists, and they see despot. Why do you think England isn't sharing their information with us anymore? We have our closest allies over the last 100 years that won't even share intelligence with our information with us anymore because we are so unreliable and untrustworthy. You've got a drunken fool. You know, like those the Chinese movies, the kung fu movies where they've got like the drunken guy. That's Pete Hegseth. That's who he is. He's a drunken fool that thinks he's got all the power in the world. He is an idiot. I have literally flushed turds smarter than Pete Hegseth. He's a drunken fool that, like, his claim to fame was being on Fox News. And somehow he's running the Defense Department and he's calling out Mark Kelly, decorated war hero and astronaut and U.S. Senator, because the U.S. Senator had the audacity, the unmitigated gall to quote the UCMJ. And he quoted the UCMJ saying, it is illegal to follow an unlawful order. He is literally saying, don't break the law. That's all he said. Don't break the law, even if somebody commands it to you, even if that person is the president. And that's the other thing that they would teach us. That was the other thing that really struck out to me, is they said, even if the president of the United States gives you an unlawful order, it is unlawful for you to follow that order. And that was 1986, summer of 86. Ronald Reagan was president. And they were teaching us then, you can't follow an unlawful order, even if the president of the United States gives it. Now they're arguing, oh, well, if you tell the president of the United States no when he gives you an unlawful order, then you're committing sedition. And if you tell somebody to say no, you're also committing sedition. These thumb knuckles sat around for 5 years. 5 years going, oh, well, he said peacefully right before he sent a bunch of armed racists to go and overthrow the country. Sent them into the Capitol building with designs on killing senators and designs on killing the vice president of the United States. Stop trying to act like that's not what they were doing. They weren't saying, hey, hang Mike Pence, because they wanted to give him a belly rub. They were saying hang Mike Pence because they wanted to murder Mike Pence. You don't believe me? Believe the Secret Service agents that were trying desperately to get him out of there. In that moment, everybody knew what was happening. I remember watching it on TV live as it happened. The entire day in just horror, appalled, and wondering where the bleep Donald Trump was. Don't tell me he wasn't committing sedition. Don't tell me he wasn't trying to overthrow the government. He absolutely was. That was his entire goal. What was the name of the rally? It was Stop the Steal. And what was the steal? The steal was the steal of the election. And the way to do it was to prevent the actual results of the election from being approved by Congress. He was trying to reinstall himself over the voters' will. But that's not sedition to them. No, that's not sedition. What's sedition is telling the military not to obey unlawful orders. That's the bridge too far. Whatever Trump does is okay. And whatever Trump says is right. You can't If you say Trump was wrong, you're committing sedition. I don't even know what this is supposed to mean. I'm arguing about politics because I'm an American and I have a right to. I am so tired of MAGA logic because it doesn't exist. How can you call what Mark Kelly did sedition and not call what Donald Trump did sedition? One of those is sedition, one of those is not, but it's not what Mark Kelly did. And I would like to ask you, name one thing, I mean, honestly, name one thing Donald Trump has done for this country. Name one. His entire first term, he didn't do anything. All he did was take credit for the black man's economy. He didn't do anything to make the economy good. The economy just kept recovering at the same rate. Actually, it slowed down a little bit under Trump. His tax cuts kind of hurt it a little bit. But all the stuff that was set in motion by Obama. He just came in, sat down in the black man's chair and took credit for what the black man did, while he blamed the black man for everything that was going wrong that he did. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you know, there's the YouTube's a big channel. Donald Trump has accomplished nothing. He has not done a single thing. There is not one single bill in either term so far, other than his tax cuts, that have helped Americans. Now, this last one is going to kill Americans, and I don't mean that hyperbolically. I mean people are going to die. You've got the Medicaid cuts are going to close down hospitals. And because of those closed down hospitals, people will literally die. People in rural areas are going to die because of this man. You've got hundreds of thousands of people that died in his first term because he tried to make COVID about politics instead of COVID about COVID. He encouraged people to not wear masks. He made it a liberal conspiracy. And you go look. There's studies done. Counties that wore masks versus counties that had mask mandates versus counties that did not. And there was a higher death rate in counties that did not have mask mandates. Afterwards, counties that voted for Republicans or for Trump were less vaccinated and had a higher death rate than counties that voted for Harris and got vaccinated. You look at the death rate of people that are vaccinated versus not vaccinated. His rhetoric literally kills people. I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that. What has he ever done? Please tell me. If you're like a Trump apologist, please tell me what he's actually done to help America other than own the libs. He goes on about DEI as though a black person getting a job is a high crime. You know what? You want to know the truth about DEI? DEI is the only real merit there is. Because what happens is DEI is not about hiring quotas. DEI is about expanding the pool of people from whence you're hiring. So take the pilots. The pilot thing, they just didn't have enough pilots. And so they started and they went to historically black colleges and universities to recruit people to become pilots. They went through the exact same training, passed the exact same tests. And you've got Charlie, he wasn't a racist Kirk, looking at a black man and assuming that somehow he got the bar lowered for him. And you've got people like Pete Kegsbreath and Donald Trump that push this kind of evil rhetoric, and Stephen Miller, who, if a shit stain had a shit stain, it would be Stephen Miller. All DEI did was say, hey, let's go and look and see if we can go beyond the, typical white male pilot and see if we can find women that are qualified to be pilots, or black people that are qualified to be pilots. Did you know that up until like a few years ago, maybe I don't remember exactly, like even like up to the 19, teens or something, like 90% of pilots were white males. But what happened is we just started running out of pilots. There's a pilot shortage in this country. So they weren't hiring black people over white people. They were just trying to find pilots. And so they went and they got black people and said, hey, maybe you never thought about flying an airplane, but you ever see it? It's insane, the things they get offended about. They get offended that black people don't have jobs and they're just lazy and collecting welfare. Then they get a job and they didn't earn it. I don't know how you even can keep all the stupid arranged in your head if you're a MAGA. Like, on the one hand, everything is like, all your problems are other people's fault. But then it's, it's the immigrants that are taking our job. It's the undocumented immigrants that are taking our job. It's the black people that are taking our jobs. It's the women that are taking our jobs. But then on the other hand, they're also all staying at home, collecting welfare, and playing video games all day. Which is it? Are they stealing your jobs or are they stealing your taxes? Tell me which one it is. All NBA players are... What? See, this is what I mean. You have to be this stupid to be a MAGA. First of all the NBA players aren't black. They aren't even American. About a third of the NBA isn't even American anymore. And secondly, that's like 1,000 people. Why are you so stupid? Did your mother ever apologize to the world for birthing your stupid MAGA butt? You're off the channel. I am so tired of MAGA. This is what we have to deal with. We have to deal with this kind of hate, this kind of bigotry, this kind of nonsense. Oh, black people are in the NBA. Like, what is that supposed to even mean? You're seriously going to make an argument that black people are in the NBA, therefore DEI is wrong? I don't even understand what you're getting at. Why does everything have to be stupid with you people? Can't you just, for once, stop being stupid and think with the good brain the good Lord gave you? I am just fed up. I am so fed up. This Mark Kelly thing really pissed me off. I'm like done with Matt. I cannot comprehend how stupid you have to be MAGA at this point. They're sitting there and they're talking about egg prices are down. We don't go. When Donald Trump and his billionaire buddies like Bessnet are sitting there telling me that grocery prices are down, dudes, you've never stepped foot in a grocery store. You've never bought an egg. You have servants to do that for you. You've never seen a grocery receipt. And you're going to tell me about grocery prices? You stupid, incompetent bumble fornicate. I don't want to swear because I'm... monetized channel. You're calling us stupid, but you're 70 years screaming at a phone screen. Actually, I'm 58 and I'm yelling at a monitor, but I'm yelling at you, dipshit. You're the one on the channel. Yes, I'm calling you stupid. If you are MAGA, you are stupid. I'm sorry if that offends you, but I'm not really sorry. Yes, I do think Kamala would have been better. I absolutely do. I 100% think Kamala would have been better. Just because Kamala wouldn't have imposed the stupid tariffs. Like, this is how stupid you are. You sat there and you probably thought that tariffs were great. And now you're posting this comment as though tariffs have nothing at all to do with the grocery prices going up. You are stupid. You are done with the channel. Goodbye. I am tired of stupid. You can't deal with stupid anymore. These people, they act like inflation. Like the inflation under Biden, they have no concept of how anything in economics works. The inflation under Biden was not actually Biden's fault. The inflation under Biden was a product of, one, having an economy that was completely decimated and needed to be stimulated. It was completely decimated because of aforementioned bungling of the COVID crisis. Number two, there was a COVID crisis, and it wasn't just in America. It was all around the world. Although it affected us more than anybody else because of President Incompetent Butt. But then the aftermath of that, this is one of my favorite MAGA inconsistencies, is the way that they act like all the inflation was on Biden. All the inflation was Biden's fault because of his stimulus spending. But the only way for that to make sense at all, in order for any of the inflation to be Biden's fault, it would have to be his fault because the economy was overstimulated. So all these people suddenly got jobs and started spending money, and then that money is what caused the inflation. The idea that the stimulus checks caused the inflation like a year later is just stupid. It's like one check and a year. So no, it wasn't that. The only way that, like the stimulus spending maybe had some impact on inflation, but it also had the impact on getting the jobs back. And I know that because the jobs that were recovered weren't the first jobs that were lost. Do you remember when, like in 2021, 2022, especially around in 2022, people were really getting upset. All right, so here's the facts. In 2020, during the peak of the crisis, when all the jobs were going away and everything, the Congressional Budget Office did a report, and they said, look, if we can get the inflation down to 6% by 2024, we're doing good. That was their most reasonable, best expectations projection. Joe Biden got it down to 4.6%, I think, by summer of 2021, and then down to 4% by the end of the year, and it stayed below or right around 4% for the rest of his presidency, right? So he got the unemployment rate down with his stimulus. But they want to act like, oh, that was all just recovered jobs, right? Like, that was all recovered jobs. So he doesn't get any credit for that. But at the same time, he gets all the blame for the inflation. You can't have the inflation without giving him credit for the recovered jobs. because the inflation would be because of all those jobs. And they weren't just recovered jobs, they were new jobs. And I know that because remember how everybody was complaining that you couldn't go to McDonald's and place an order anymore because nobody wanted to work at McDonald's because everybody was getting these other jobs, and how terrible it was that people weren't willing to sacrifice their life for fast food employment anymore? I do. They seem to want to have everything both ways. Mark Kelly committed treason because he said, like, follow the law. And this is the other thing, is they're like, oh, well, he's just doing it with a hood and a nod. They of the remember Trump saying peacefully one time and then saying fight like hell 20 times? Do you remember when he, like did his little wink and a nod with the there's very fine people on both sides? And what he actually meant when he said very fine people on both sides is some of the liberals weren't so bad either. If you go and you actually watch what he said, the other side was the left. He was defending, and then he's like, had his one little sentence, oh, white supremacy is bad. Like, we really believe you when you say that. You're just saying that because you have to. And everybody knows you're saying that with a wink and a nod. But we can't say you said that with a wink and a nod. But Mark Kelly deserves to be hung because you say he said something with a wink and a nod. That was not at all with a wink and a nod. He wasn't just saying, he wasn't trying to suggest that we actually, all the military should rise up and rebel against Donald Trump or whatever. What absolute crap. What utter and complete crap that is. What I do for work is irrelevant. It is just such crap. And I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of every discussion having to do with just dishonest MAGAs making dishonest talking points. They are just like, they can't, everything is dishonest. Like DEI, there's a lie. Inflation, they lie. Patriotism, to them, patriotism just means, whatever Donald Trump says it means. And it's like, oh, well, you can't criticize the president. After they sat there, they get mad if you discredit the president or criticize the president. After 4 years of screaming, let's go, Brandon. Like they just, oh, you just can't get over losing. You guys never got over losing for 4 years. I admit we lost. I think we lost because the media spent 4 years blaming Joe Biden for inflation without any, not directly. They're just saying, well, inflation is going to be really bad for the Democrats. And never once did you ever hear a single solution offered by the Republicans. But somehow it came out the Republicans were going to be the heal-all for the economy. Why? What did they do? What did they ever even propose? What have they even proposed to solve inflation? You can talk about the Inflation Reduction Act being a joke or whatever. Fine. What have the Republicans offered? What if the Republicans offered to improve the Affordable Care Act? Other than just stupid stuff like the medical savings account thing that they're like that. There's nobody. I know people with PhDs from Wharton, multiple people that literally do healthcare economics for a living, that were the idea that somehow medical savings accounts and high deductible insurance are good for the economy? No, true. No, like it's like saying we should have square tires. It's that level of stupid. It is like way beyond the stupidest. Think of the stupidest thing that you can possibly think of. And then think, if that were stupider, that's how stupid the idea of replacing Affordable Care Act with medical savings accounts and high deductible insurance is going to help anything. Because if you're sick, if you actually have chronic illnesses, how are you going to save money for the deductible? And if you don't have the exchanges and the way to assist the supplement people's insurance, you don't have the leverage. Like, oh, well, like think of it this way. Let's just say, your local grocery store decides they're just going to sell eggs. You go in and you just barter for the price. You haggle for the price. Everybody gets their own egg price. Do you think that you're going to end up paying more or less for eggs that way? You're going to end up paying more. Think a shot. You go to Costco. Why are you getting things at a discount? Because they're buying things in volume. That's the way the Affordable Care Act works. The way that insurance companies can keep their prices controlled is because they're selling in volume. They're lumping all the risks together. And so they're not going to lose as money. They're not guaranteed to lose money, which they're going to be with if this stupid plan were to work out, which I don't think it's going to be. I think there's enough senators with brains, even on the Republican side, that this idea is already, because it's already failed. And Republicans want to act like the way they talk about the Affordable Care Act is that insurance was just super fine. Like, it was perfect. We had the best healthcare in the world. Prices never went up. Everybody could afford insurance. Everybody could get it. Then the Affordable Care Act came along and ruined it for all Americans. 30 million people, myself being one of them, rejoiced the day that happened because I could get insurance. Some people just couldn't get it at all. It was so unaffordable. And the rate that it was going up, they act like, oh, the inflation for like somehow the ACA made insurance rates inflate, like the inflation rate for insurance go up faster. It actually got cut in half. It's still above regular inflation. Like, relative to inflation, it's still going up faster than regular inflation, but it was going up faster relative to what it is now before at like twice the rate. I think it was going up like 12% a year before. It's going up like 6% a year now. Obamacare was designed to fail and push. And that's not really true. I don't know where people get this stuff. That's just like, this is not a valid point. Obamacare was not designed to fail and to push the single payer, open up free markets for healthcare across the country, and prices will plummet. None of that is true. Like, I get that you got told that on Fox News or some clown on Fox News. None of that is true. The Affordable Care Act was meant to be a starting point. It wasn't meant to be perfect, but it was meant to be something that we can build on. It was never designed to fail so that we could push single payer. Like this is just nonsense. It's like you people don't know that you don't know anything. Obamacare deductible today, nobody could afford. Obamacare deductible today. I don't understand what you're trying to say. Okay. Before Obamacare, I think he's saying before Obamacare, nobody could afford the deductibles. It was insane. And that's what they wanted. When they talk about like high deductible insurance, that's what they're talking. They want to go back to the glory days. Which, hey, if you're a really healthy person, you can get a high deductible savings account or a high deductible insurance with a medical savings account, which you can do right now. There's nothing preventing you from having medical savings account. There's no laws against it. You can go that strategy right now. But for some people, most people, that's not good. If you're if you have enough expendable income that you can fill up your savings account, and if you have if you're relatively healthy, that you don't really need insurance for like prescription medicine or anything, then fine. But that ain't this. Like, not everybody can do that. Okay, hang on. Let's go to insurance companies flat out refuse to offer mental health insurance at all. Right. And if you had a history of like the reason mine was up so high was because I had 2 months where I was on an antidepressant. Like 5 years earlier. My whole life I spent 2 years on an antidepressant. And I was basically uninsurable. Let us not even mention existing conditions. Yes. Pregnancy was an existing condition. If you got pregnant, you couldn't get health insurance. No, Obama. We still have. I don't. Obama. What are you talking about? They have different levels of Obamacare, of the Affordable Care Act, which still is there, by the way. You have different levels of deductibles, but the high end of those deductibles is like $5,000, and they've got max out of pocket that's like usually $6,000-7,000, and that's for the bronze. There's like bronze, silver, and gold tier, and you could get the higher deductibles, or you could get the lower deductibles and pay higher premiums. Like, you need to read before you argue with people that know what they're talking about. Like, find out what the actual facts are instead of just regurgitating what other people that don't know what they're talking about told you on Twitter. Okay. Also, they charge double for women what they did. Wow. I see. I didn't know that because obviously I can't get pregnant. Call ICE on my aunt, please. In 2002, I paid $2,000 a month for insurance and gave birth, and it still cost me over $10,000 for my kid. Wow. They act like, there was a reason we needed the Affordable Care Act, people. Like, there was a reason. It wasn't just Obama thought he'd come in and kick in. And here's the other thing. There's a lot of things that, like, the private or the individual mandate that they got all up in arms about. Did you know that was actually a Republican addition to the Affordable Care Act, and the concession the Democrats made? What the Democrats initially wanted, and this is what we should have, by the way. was a public option. And what that meant is that there would be a public insurance, like the government would actually have an option where you could choose the government to be your insurance company. And it would be supplemented based on your ability to pay, right? So if you wanted insurance with somebody else, if you wanted to go with a private insurance company, you could do that. Or you could choose the public option. When Obama was talking about you can keep your health insurance if you want it, that's what he was talking about initially. Like that was what the goal was. You could have a public option or you could go with private insurance. And if you wanted to go with private insurance, we would help you with that too. But the public option was there for private insurance companies so that private insurance companies wouldn't have to have such high risk patients, right? Because once you take away the individual mandates, you're taking away their ability to make money. And so then people that wanted the public option would go into the that had like a lot of pre-existing conditions could choose the public option, wouldn't be as much of a risk to the private insurance companies. So there was a logic there. So then what happened is that the insurance companies were freaking out about the public option, because if there was a public option, what do you think? Do you think that the private insurance, if you could go with a public option and pay half as much for insurance, are you going to stick with the one you want to? The private insurance companies were all worried that they weren't going to lose all their customers if there was an actual public option. Obamacare isn't free, not wasn't, isn't. And nobody thinks it's free. Stop talking about the Affordable Care Act as though it is in the past tense. It is still there. And the deductibles aren't outrageous. You don't know. You've never been on it. You don't know what you're talking about. And so, yes. So Obamacare was a tax. Actually, the Supreme Court said, yes, it was. And guess what? The government is allowed to pass taxes. What the private, what the individual mandate was, which is the tax which you're referring to, was the Republican proposal. The Republicans put this in the bill. This is the Republicans' fault. So if you're mad about it, be mad at the Republicans. The Republicans said, let's have an individual mandate. And that meant if you don't have insurance, then you have to pay a small fine. And the fine was actually like $50 a year or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. But compared to the price of insurance, it was minuscule. And the reason that was there is because sometimes people would get sick, so that people wouldn't get sick. And then, oh, I've got cancer. I'm going to go get insurance now. So they're paying some money into the insurance companies, into the insurance industry, whether or not they have insurance, but it would be less than if they had insurance. That was the Republican idea. And that was the alternative to the public option. All right. So the fine you're complaining about, the taxes you're complaining about, blame that on the Republicans. And I know that it's not free. Like, I'm not under the delusion that taxpayer funded things are free. I know that they come out of taxes. I understand how taxes work. I think most of us do. But some of us would rather have our taxes spent on giving people health care than blowing up people in the middle of the ocean. Like, how we spend that taxpayer money, maybe some of us would just rather save lives than end lives with our money. And that's why we have votes. And that's why we have a democracy, so that we can define what our government does and how it spends our money and how much money it raises. All of that is part of our democracy. And yes, it's why the Republicans are in charge right now, but it was also why the Democrats were in charge in 2009 when they passed this bill. So stop with your little, oh, it's not free. We know. We're not stupid. You're the one that's stupid. You're the one that's voting for Donald Trump to end your own, business. Okay, so even Medicaid is not free. None of it is. Right. The only reason that insurance companies are even part of the Obamacare is because the Republican Dems wanted Medicare for all. Well, that I think there was some hope that it would transition into something like that. And but the original goal was a public option. Just like if you wanted to choose a public option for insurance, then you could have that. Like it was just an option, like the word option. Like that means there are other options, right? Like you could go with a private option or you could go with a public option. That was the original goal. I would love it if if they came out with a public option and called it Trump Care. I would be 100% for it. If that was their compromise, is that you could, there would be a federally funded medical insurance company and they called it Trump Care. I wouldn't care. The new Trump pharmacy thing is something Democrats have been pushing for years. Now Trump puts his name on it and they're all of a sudden, all the Republicans are for it. I'm okay with that because I care about the policy, not the credit. I think people deserve health care. I do not understand why there are people that sit there and they get all worked up in a lather that a brown person might be getting emergency medical care. Yeah, I think that, like there's a basic right to life, like to actual life that's in our Constitution. And I don't think that applies to just citizens. In fact, and as far as undocumented immigrants go, there wasn't even any such thing as undocumented immigrants then when they wrote the Constitution, when they wrote the preamble. That did not exist. That did not exist for the first 100 years that we were a nation. If you really want to go with what the founding fathers believed, open up the borders. They absolutely agreed with open borders. They had open borders. I just can't with the stupid anymore. Like, oh, the stupid in the comments. Buddy, you're stupid. Okay. Pampered Chef is also Pampered Chef is a fantastic kitchen brand. Somebody's been Googling my name, I think. But yes. There was something else that was annoying. Oh, the whole Ukraine thing. Hey, Pampered Chef has some awesome products. They do. But I prefer, I love Pampered Chef, but I prefer healthcare for all. Like, why is that even controversial? I do not understand why there are people that actually believe that healthcare, like they call like this, like I get tired of this being framed as a far left issue. Like, like the extremists are Medicare for all, like, oh, or universal health care is the position that the rest of the free world has is the extreme position. And the position which we are the only nation that has, the only successful nation, the richest nation in the history of the world. And we say that We should ration healthcare according to your, employment status and income. That to me sounds like the extreme position. The idea that everybody has a right to healthcare is not extreme to me. The idea that only rich people or people that have the right job deserve it. That to me seems like the extreme position. Sorry, you don't deserve healthcare because you're unemployed. You got late and like they have the Cobra and stuff. Cobra is expensive. And if you don't have a job, it's kind of hard to afford health insurance. So you get laid off and you don't have health insurance sometimes because we've tied it to our careers. We've tied it to our jobs. We're the only nation in the world that does that. But somehow everyone else is extremist. If everyone else in the world is extremist to you, maybe you're the extremist. Like, did that ever occur to you, MAGA? Like, maybe we're calling you fascist because you're actually fascist. Like, maybe we understand what the word means and you don't. Maybe you should stop calling us communists all the time because we just don't align with your fascism. Like, I understand fascism. I know what it is. I know what it is better than all the people that tell me I don't know what it is. Because if you knew what it was, when I use it correctly, you wouldn't be calling me out on not knowing what it is. You only call me out on not knowing what it is because you don't know what it is. It's your ignorance that's the issue. It's your ignorance that keeps you voting for Donald Trump, the dumbest president we have ever had. Do you really think grocery prices aren't going up? Have you been to the grocery store? I mean, come on. He's like, oh, the grocery prices are down 25% because this Walmart basket that is a completely different basket than it was last year. I'm just so tired of it. I'm so tired of not being able to have, like, you see them right in the comments here, and they come in and they make these bad faith, stupid arguments based on ignorance and fake talking points and lies. And you try to have an honest conversation with them, and they just refuse to let you. They refuse to think. I'm just done with, like, what is the point of MAGA at this point? What are you trying to do? Please tell me how you're going to make America great again. What cause are you even trying to advance anymore? Is it just about making America white again? Is it? Because it starts to seem like at a certain point, all you want to do is get rid of everybody that's not white. You're sitting there, you've got Stephen Miller and his little band of companions. It's not just illegal immigrants anymore. They're cutting out legal immigrants. They're revoking the status of people that came over here legally. And all the people whose status they're revoking are people of color. Meanwhile, they're giving white South Afrikaners, they're giving them asylum. The only people that get asylum now are white. Do you think that's a coincidence? They have literally frozen asylum to like 5,000 per year. And they're giving it to the white people that aren't even being persecuted. That whole South Afrikaner white farmed genocide thing is a myth. And they're all upset about that. All it is just racial purity. That's all he talks about. Oh, they're gonna, they're poisoning the blood of our nation. The brown people are poisoning the blood of our nation. The immigrants are poisoning the blood. That's literally from Hitler. Hitler said that. And they're like, oh, well, that's just a coincidence. Yeah, right. His first wife said he had a book of Hitler's speeches next to his bed on his nightstand, and that's the only book he ever looked at. The man studied Hitler's speeches, and then he quotes Hitler in his speeches. But we're supposed to believe it's a coincidence that he doesn't mean it? I don't care whether you call him a Nazi or not, but he sure is a racist and he sure is a fascist. And he sure does quote Hitler. Sorry, we've got, hi, Betty Veronica. Love the name, by the way. Big Archie fans comic growing up. I'm assuming that that's where that name comes from, unless it's just an incredible coincidence. Exactly. Logical people are tired of the stupid and frankly embarrassed for it. It's just, I'm embarrassed for the country. I'm so embarrassed for the, like, I like, if I were to go to France or something right now, I'd just be like, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to apologize for America right now. And the first time it was just like, oops, we the second time, how do we explain that to the rest of the world? Not just white, no disabled or fat, unless you're Donald Trump. Donald Trump's allowed to be fat, just like Hitler wasn't Aryan. Those that want pure white, whatever the bleep that is, must want to inbreed. Disgusting. I think I think there may be something to that. There may be some inbreeding going on in some of those. Me too. Love Archie. Oh, okay, yeah. 100. I guess that's about the Betty Veronica thing. It was rigged. I don't know what was rigged. Anyway, the election. I don't think that this. I think it's impossible to fix the election. I know that there are a lot of my liberal friends who disagree very strongly with that, but I looked into it, and it's basically statistically impossible, because you'd have to, like, you'd have to rig each of the swing states separately, and then that would require going to each precinct individually, since nothing was wired to the internet. You'd have to be able to figure out how to manipulate the voting machines. They use different voting machines, so it costs like billions of dollars and take like thousands of people to do all this. And just, there's like formula that was done by somebody that did a study on conspiracy theories, and the more people that are involved in a conspiracy, the greater the chance of it being exposed, and especially one like this that was going to be as scrutinized. It would be virtually impossible to like rig it and to overturn it. And some of the things, like the results in New York, the New York County, where the Democrat won the congressional seat, but Trump won the presidency by a unanimous number. That is very unique situation. They're Jewish, can't think of the word, but there's a particular kind of sect of Judaism, and they all vote for president every year for whoever their rabbi tells them to. And so, like, Biden didn't get any votes either. In the same county, the same thing happened under Biden, but nobody was looking at it. And it's like, why would they be rigging like New York isn't even one of the states they won. So why would they be trying to rig New York? Anyway, there's I just don't think that it's possible. Yeah, I know that Elon said that, but I think that when Elon said Trump wouldn't have won without me, I think he means like his endorsement and his I'll give you $1 million if you register to vote campaign. Like I don't think that it meant that his satellite was like rigging the elections, because they weren't connected to the internet and they couldn't. And I like studied the whole thing. Like I looked into it. Is there any way that could happen? And they're can't think of the word for it, but they're like where you're like cut off from the internet, like the nuclear football or whatever, where it's like impossible to get in because it's not connected to the internet. The voting machines, they're just not connected to the internet, so there's no way to hack them. But anyway, I think that he won because I think the reason Trump won is because we just had 4 years of blaming inflation on Biden and dismissing the success of the economy otherwise, as it was just bounced back from COVID. Like it was just inevitable that it was going to happen. And Biden just happened to be lucky enough to be president, even though that you can't separate the recovery from the inflation. If the inflation was due to the recovery, then if you're gonna blame Biden for the inflation, you have to give him credit for the recovery. Like the two things are tied together, at least in part. Like there was the thing we do with inflation is we always talk about it as though like there's a singular cause for all inflation, and we don't look at inflation the way we should, as there are different forces being put on different commodities for different reasons. And so some things can go up and some things can go down, and the things that can go up for different reasons, and the things that go down can go down for different reasons. Like right now, the reason that the price of gas is, whether it's down or not is kind of, I'm not sure right now. It's a day-to-day thing. But if the price of gas is down, it's generally because the price of oil is down. And the reason the price of oil is down is because OPEC Plus released more oil. And it has nothing at all to do with Donald Trump. So Donald Trump can sit there and talk about how the gas prices are down and take credit for it, but he didn't do anything to make gas prices go down. The idea that they're down because he opened up new things for drilling, there's not even new drilling there. And even if there were, it would take time before that became gas. It would take like a year or 2 years before that new drilling turned into gasoline. So there's not like an increase in supply in gas. That's not the reason that, or in domestic gas or in domestic drilling, that's not the reason gas prices are down. Gas prices are down because the price of oil is down internationally because OPEC Plus released more oil. The price of eggs is down, not because we like all of a sudden had Jesus come and heal our chickens. Price of eggs is down because we started importing eggs. So big Mr. We're going to stop the importing is taking credit for egg prices coming down because of egg imports. It's just, inflation is more complicated than people want it to be. And they always want it to be as complicated as who's president. In this case, a lot of the inflation is due to who's president, though, because tariffs are designed to make prices go up. The whole point of tariffs is to make prices go up. So the idea that tariffs aren't making prices go up is like saying I can't, like, that's what they're there for. They're there to raise money, but not really. And they're certainly not raising money from other. This is another one that, like, they sit there. Donald Trump will say something stupid. We've brought in $5 trillion, and then they'll be just quoting him. And the MAGAs will just say, oh, yeah, we brought in $5 trillion. Why do you hate money? We haven't brought in $5 trillion. What we've done is we've taxed poor people. Tariffs end up being a regressive tax. There's something called a pass-through rate. Pass-through rate means that the amount of money that you end up paying as that gets passed through to the end customer, right? And yes, corporate taxes also have a pass-through rate, but the pass-through rate for corporate taxes is around 20 to 40% because that's taxes on profits. The tax through rate for tariffs is like 80 to 100% because that's taxes on costs. So I would rather have more corporate taxes than I would have more tariffs. Corporate taxes still require that companies compete with each other. Tariffs just make it cost more money for them to do business. That's them losing money. Corporate taxes are literally taxes on the profit. So you don't have a corporate tax if you don't have a profit. But you can have a tariff and lose money. You can't have a corporate tax and lose money. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, there is a big difference. And yeah, like Betty Veronica there, he pulls numbers out of his huge. He does. He just makes stuff up. He'll be, oh yeah, it's like $5,000. You know, it's going up. You know, or I'm going to save 50, 100, 500, 2,000, 50,000% on drug prices or whatever. You know, like he'll just sit there like he's an auctioneer auctioning off things to himself. It's just, and then you know. People run with that as though that like that's some sort of official number. Sour Patch Kids. Hi, Sour Patch. Anyway, I wasn't going to get on today, but I just this whole Mark Kelly thing, and I've just had it. I've had it with all the stupid. Everything is stupid. Every talking point is stupid. So I just wanted to come on and say that. Anyway. I feel better now. And it's nice that I have like either got rid of the trolls or they got rid of themselves. And we're going to get a new healthcare plan in 2 weeks. Yes, the old 2 weeks. We've been 2 weeks away from 2 weeks for like at least 2 weeks now. You made Resistance Kitty snort laugh. I am, yeah, the 2 weeks. My goodness. All right. Well, thanks for joining me and for entertaining my rant. I will see you guys tomorrow, possibly. I don't think I'm going to do a show on Thursday or Friday for obvious reasons. If I'm not on tomorrow, probably will be, but might not be. If I'm not on tomorrow, have a great Thanksgiving.